Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. It is the Exceptional Conservative Show, and we are live from Wilmington, North Carolina. Mrs. Biggs and I have gotten away for the week as we tried to get some rest and recuperation in preparation for the New Year course. There are bigger and better things on the horizon. We got big news about our rankings with Reverb Nation. We have great Thanksgiving for Mary Brockman, our bouncer, and for all of those who have been listening to us through the course of the year through the variant channels that play our programs. Big night tonight. Dr. Michael Jones will be joining us at 10 o'clock. We will be talking about whatever the good doctor wants to talk about. So there you go. And we finish off our week this week on immigration. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say with unabashed proclamation, thank you for being with us during the course of the year. Thank you for your love, for your kindness, for your mercy extended towards us, for the great joys that we've shared with you, as well as the sorrows. Thank you for sharing with us the glory of the living God through the testament of Jesus Christ and the truthfulness spoken of in the Holy Ghost. I want to thank you as well for those who have been on the battlefields of urban America, spreading the good news of conservatism throughout the world. Listen, every night I come on the air, I tell you, I am not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the socialist. I want to also thank you for all of the capitalists out there who have invested in communities and in neighborhoods and in businesses and in people to lift people out of poverty and to give them hope and skill sets to push forward the engine of our economy. And we want to thank God for those who revere, respect, and adore the U.S. Constitution. It is unchanged after over 250 years. And not talking about amendments, and we're talking about the actual body of the Constitution that's gone unchanged for over 250 years. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a testament to the hard work of many great warriors in the conservative movement. And as we fight on belligerently, I assure you that the victories likened unto the repeal of the 17th Amendment and the repeal of the 16th Amendment and the hopes of a guaranteed Republican form of government throughout the land as well in the District of Columbia. I pray that all these things come to pass as we go on. Mrs. Biggs and I have traveled out of town. We're in Wilmington, North Carolina. And quite frankly, there is no greater joy than being with her and sharing with her my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations. And indeed, she's put up with me. And so I am just ever so thankful of the fact that she has and that she's with me even now. I want to thank Mary Brockman, my bouncer, who's been with me throughout the course of all of these years. And as we move into year number 6 of the Exceptional Consider Show, in fact, that's February 28, 2011, nothing is more exciting than to have shared so many of these particular nights with Mary in our chat roll, SHR Media Live. And quite frankly, sometimes she's the only supporter who's in the room at times. There are times when it's blockbuster filled, but sometimes Mary Brockman is the only one there. She is a warrior and a soldier and do her cord. With all that said, all that done, my very good friends Janice Hall, J Hall World Report, Lonnie Poindexter, who is the host of Lion Chasers on Urban Family Talk. Also, wanted to thank my very good friend, DC GOP Vice Chairman, Ralph Chisholm Sr. Want to thank Rick Trader, wishing you and Mary the best of holiday greetings, and as well as he is such a benevolent dictator, the greatest success for conservative commandos in the years to come. And I also want to thank all of my fellow conservative commandos who arguably are without peer. Every day they're on the air and they present varied ways of giving the concepts of conservatism, capitalism, constitutionalism, and also Christ Jesus. Want to thank as well Kevin Wade and his family. I am very sorry I did not have an opportunity to get to Delaware, but I look forward to celebrating with Kevin Wade someday soon, he and his family. And I look forward to being in the Conservative Commandos radio network sometime this year. I had hoped it would have been 2015, but it may be 2016 when I return, and I look so forward to being in the room with Rick Trader. I love the way he performs, and I love his friendship. But last but not least, Dr. Michael Jones. Dr. Michael Jones has been a friend of the family. He has persevered with us. He has fought with me on getting right with my media focus. And we will be working together more prolifically in the future, more succinctly in the future. But he has been he's a great teacher, and I am a very good student. And I have learned so much from that good man, without a doubt, without a single sensational doubt. And I look forward to him coming on tonight. Don't tell him that. But certainly he is well worth the listen whenever you have the opportunity. I also want to thank Deborah. Deborah is a very good supporter of our family, a very strong supporter of my efforts here in Washington, D.C., whether it's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, whether it's the Open Heart Closed Case campaign, her encouragement along the way with even blogging out, well, not blogging out, but she sends out tweets and things regarding the show so other people can listen. And uh, we really, really appreciated her because she's also very important to us reaching the Caribbean marketplace. Her tweets go out to countries like Jamaica, to the Bahamas, to Guyana, where she is from. And many people from around the world have started tuning in and listening to this program. And I do get responses back from all of them about the fact that they've never heard this type of stuff before. Whenever they thought of America, they thought of it as being really holy, well, hellish, not holy, but wholeheartedly hellish, mean spirited, that the concept was always against race and things. They've never heard this. And so I want to thank Deborah so much for taking the risk of sending this message out around the world. Um, I really, peace. Thank you so much for your confidence. And I know, if you think it's tough here being a conservative, and I always say every day, Deborah's becoming more and more conservative. But if you think it's tough being a conservative here, imagine being a conservative someplace else in the world. Much more difficult, especially when you have liberals from this particular country that go around without any fear or without any trepidation to tear down this nation, um, and either in writing or in speech. And so, thank you. Um, but finally, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about immigration. And we haven't exhausted immigration, but we have exhausted it this week a whole lot more than most people could have possibly understood. You also have walked away knowing right now that there is currently a pathway to citizenship in this nation. There is currently a pathway to citizenship. You may not like it, you may not appreciate it, but gosh darn it, there is a pathway for citizenship. For politicians to come to you and lie to you on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, that there is no pathway to citizenship is unacceptable, and they need to be voted out of office. And they shouldn't be president of the United States either. Just saying. But I want to do this very quickly, and I want to pivot to my Facebook page if I possibly can do that in short order. Um, God's been very good to me. I know a lot of people say, well, Ken, he took your daughter. And my response back is, she was on loan to me. He had every right to take her. He has every right to take me and every right to take you. We are on loan from God to this world to do his will and to give him glory. And you say, well, Ken, I mean, you're in urban America. Yeah, you know, it's really tough. Right? God always puts us in a place not to show forth our weaknesses, but to show forth his strength. I am prepared for whatever battle comes my way. I am content in well doing and in misdeed. I am content in wealth as I am in poverty. I am content because I know my Lord has me and those that have him. He will not leave us comfortless. He will not leave us without a comfort and a direction and a guide to all truth. Jesus Christ has been a better friend to me than I have ever been to anyone else. He is more loving and more trusting. And as I know him, I become more loving and more trusting. Earlier today, I read this note that came from William Booth. And William Booth was the founder of the Salvation Army. And William Booth said, I consider that the chief dangers which confront the coming century will be religion without the Holy Ghost, Christianity without Christ, forgiveness without repentance, salvation without regeneration, politics without God, and heaven without hell. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what I fight every single day, personally and professionally. As the host of the Exceptional Conservative Show, my job is to not only be a witness of his glory, but it also is to convict, coerce, and convince others to share his comfort, to know his joy, to receive his forgiveness, and to turn to his will and his way. The greatest joy I've had in doing this show is knowing that Jesus is with me always, even to the end. Without a shadow of a doubt, I want to leave you with this, and we will be back right after these comments. Or at least, we'll be right back with more of the best in Urban Conservative Talk. No, let's try that one more time. Can we try that one more time? Can we? Gee, I tell you, this is why. Hopefully, in the new year, I'll be given by God someone who would like to work with me as the producer for my show. Really, it's hard to do all of this stuff at the same time. But here we go. show live from Wilmington, North Carolina. I want to wish you, this is Biggs and I, the happiest of New Year. I get back to some very good listening on capitalism, conservatism, and constitutionalism, as well as Christ. God bless you. See you again in the new year. All right. That was me trying to say the very same thing I've been saying for the past 10, 15 minutes. Senor Cabrera, please lead us in how we should start this show.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación, bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your Pledge of Allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will memorize it. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Senor. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Human trafficking is slavery.
And it happens all over America. Any child, any woman, any man could potentially become a victim of human trafficking.
I am a victim of labor trafficking.
I was victim of child sex trafficking, but now I own my body.
Human trafficking is any kind of forced labor.
It can happen to anybody.
I am a mother.
I am an author.
I am a son.
I'm an advocate.
I am an educator.
I'm a sister.
I am a brother.
I'm so much more than what happened to me.
I am strong.
I am brave.
I am outspoken.
I am compassionate.
I am a survivor.
I'm a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor of human trafficking.
Right swipe.
Gonna be a right swipe.
This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart.
You stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe. Right swipe.
That kind of looks like my sister.
It does.
But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten.
God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop.
Left swipe.
Left swipe.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff. Hashtag perplexed. Yeah, you worked out, you're in shape. Okay, I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. I just couldn't overlook one small fact.
She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
Let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it left.
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. Stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
Mr. Road Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really
A
care.
lot of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from tens to twos. And one thing's true about your whole crew. None of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Looking with the tiger
Let's swipe that.
while you're on a hang glider.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Let's swipe that.
At a monster truck race.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Let's swipe that.
Even in a photo bomb.
He don't care. left, swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah,
You gotta swipe it
left,
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left, swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
Right. It's gonna be.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. Yes, it's the Exceptional Conservative Show. And no, we did not take a holiday, unlike some of my more princely commentators on SHR Media and Conservative Commandos and a few other radio networks, High Plains Talk. You know, some people took vacations. What? Not I. Yes, and I will be hassled by this group of people when they come back and they hear this show. But it was a great opportunity to spend some time away with my wife and to also have her blessing to do this show. Okay, you go off now. You can stop now. There we go. All right. It's difficult to get you off when you want to get them off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be doing our sneak preview show of New Day Black and Right at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. As this is the last show for 2015, on the last day in 2015, at midnight tonight, we will be celebrating the new year. 2016 arrives. And one of the big issues, whether you are in the world of politics or economics or finance, one of the big issues and concerns has been immigration. I thought this would be the greatest period of time where we could delve into the fineries of the themes of immigration and find out exactly what we're talking about in terms of truth and what the rest are talking about in terms of falsity. And or falsification, however way you wish, a lie. One of the greatest pontifications by those on the left and the right is that in the United States of America, there is no real way, no real pathway to citizenship. We established very succinctly that there are 4 specific things that people look for when it comes to, you like my handy dandy writing here? All right, see, we have things set up now where you can see all my notes and stuff. But number one, that you have to be able to speak English. Not only speak it, you have to write it. And not only write it and speak it, but you have to read it. Meaning that you have to have a comprehension of English. Not British English, but American English. You also should have good moral character. And we went over some of the things that would prevent you from ever being considered a U.S. citizen. Can you imagine public intoxication? Yeah. Being drunk? If you're found being drunk, If you lie, So ladies and gentlemen, there are very high standards, and those standards are not set by the standards of the President of the United States or even by Congress. That standard is set as high, if we're talking about morality, as God. I know a lot of people be upset and uncomfortable with that statement, but there has to be a higher standard than your Congress. Also, there has to be an attachment to the U.S. Constitution, literally. Sharia law does not represent the U.S. Constitution. In fact, it is an offense to the U.S. Constitution. It's a contradiction. It's hostile. Notice the degrees in which I'm going at this particular point. But truthfully, you cannot believe in Sharia law and be a United States citizen. You cannot. And that gets into the morality part of it. People will say, well, you're against Muslim religion. First foremost, Islam is hidden in religion, but it's really a political organization. Okay, it is devoid of the concept of a one true God. Um, so literally, you have individuals masquerading in the image of spirituality when they wish to really take over the world and enslave it. And I don't care. I risk whatever every single day. Every day of my living is a closer day to my death. So I worry not about those particular things. But this is what I do worry about: is convincing young people in America that Sharia is not a religion. Sharia is a political way of life. And literally, it can choke you out and into slavery. Lastly, there has to be a continuity of living in the United States. You can't tell me that you love America and you only live here on the weekends. That doesn't sound right. You have to have an investment in your neighborhood. You have to have an investment in your family here, in the schools, and by God, the economy here. You have to be vested here or invested here. The vesting can't come from the taxpayer. It has to come from you, the individual. So those four things are the pathways by which you, through naturalization, are able to ascertain your citizenship. We also learned last night that it's expensive for some people. I mean, we're talking about just application stuff and exams. We're talking about $1,000. There are other expenses as well. So it's a lot of money to become a U.S. citizen. And as well, there's some people who have been waiting 20 and 30 years to become a U.S. citizen. And now, magically, someone's telling them that they are about to fall behind in line to someone who is an undocumented citizen. I don't know how you get undocumented and citizenship together in one place, but apparently they have. One of the first things I want to talk to you tonight is the concept of the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. The Congressional Budget Office in Washington, you're probably saying, hey, what does that have to do with immigration, man? You took a real big leap there. No, it does. The Congressional Budget Office sets the financial agenda in place by which the President of the United States recommends policy, domestic and foreign. How the Congressional Budget Office grades financially the decisions, foreign or domestic, of the President of the United States determines exactly how people will vote for it because they have to raise the tax revenue to cover it. And so many times you'll have the Congressional Budget Office attempting to put together a financial plan for a policy. In fact, let me give you this. Alan Reynolds at the Cato Institute back in 2001 wrote this editorial. He said, don't trust the CBO's numbers. He said the compelling part of CBO estimates has nothing to do with Social Security or the odd priority according to retiring debt. The real story is the way in which each forecast is treated as indisputable fact, despite the CBO's record of exaggerating deficits and underestimating surpluses. Exaggerating deficits and underestimating surpluses. Now, a lot of people will say, well, the CBO has made many changes since then, but one of the changes that they purported was that Obamacare was affordable. Well, based on the CBO, the Obamacare program, or at least their forecast, is as close to being forecast accurately as climate change. Yes, they were in error, and they will still be in error. There was a prognostication that some 17 million people, upwards of 30 million people, would be getting Obamacare. The truth of the matter is, no more at any given time have 8 million people participated in Obamacare. That is already less than 2/3, actually it's 3/4, of the expected number of individuals that would be in the program. Okay? So literally, their numbers are off. And if their numbers are off, let's get an example of this. In 1993, the CBO predicted that the deficit would soar to $653 billion in 2003. This week, they said the same budget will be in surplus by $172 billion. Little of that $825 billion revision can be explained by legislation or luck. Nearly all of it reflects the magnitude of past forecasting blunders. So, if we go on the fact that while it is a nonpartisan group, it errs in forecasting budgets, well, it would also err in terms of forecasting domestic and foreign policy when it comes to immigration. One of the great issues with immigration is the Immigration Modernization Act of 2013. And that was the Immigration Act that Chucky Schumer put together for the U.S. Senate as part of an immigration reform. Now, you also might remember that there are 4 other people who are part of that on the Republican side. Okay, you got your Marco Rubio, you got your the guy from South Carolina who fell out, or they're called the Gang of 8. In fact, that's what we'll call them, the Gang of 8. In fact, we're not going to call them that; they call themselves that. The Gang of 8 is inclusive of 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans. Michael Bennet, Democrat from Colorado, Senator Richard Durbin from Democrat from Illinois, all members of the U.S. Senate. Jeff Flake, who's one of the biggest disappointments, ran as a conservative and was flaky ever since his victory. Jeff Flake, Republican from Arizona. Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina. John McCain, Republican from Arizona. Bob Menendez, Democrat from New Jersey. Marco Rubio, Republican from Florida. And Chucky Schumer, Democrat from New York. The wonderful thing is, 3 out of these particular 8 people have run for the presidency of the United States of America. And I'm suspecting that each and every one of them will win. Well, that Gang of 8 made a proposition on the Modernization Act of Immigration 2013, and their proposition was this: that they would save the U.S. money. Illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants for the first time would have the opportunity to become U.S. citizens. They would have a pathway to citizenship. Now, we all understand, as I've established this week, that there already is a pathway to citizenship, and illegals don't qualify for it. I think I did that well enough. If I didn't, we'll do another week. That's not. But the bottom line is, illegals have no access to citizenship. So when individuals say that there is no pathway to citizenship, that is be less than disingenuous here. There is a pathway, but it does not include illegals. So they go on to say, thanks to the Congressional Budget Office, that the U.S. fiscal deficit as a result of the reform bill would fall by $197 billion over the next 10 years and by $700 billion by 2033. They also report, and I want you to pay attention to this because Rubio and all the rest of them happen to be in states with large numbers of elder populations that want to protect Social Security. Although, for younger generations, it would be very wise to eradicate Social Security and allow individuals to do their own private investments, supporting their own retirements, and make it all tax-free. That's just my recommendation. But nonetheless, the Social Security Administration says, based on this particular proposal by the Gang of 8, gang violence is a deadly sin, we need to get rid of it. The Gang of 8, that the Social Security Administration says that this bill, if it becomes law, would help add $276 billion in revenue over the next 10 years while costing only $33 billion. There's a problem with those particular numbers. Here's the problem. It is the amount of money that will be paid out to individuals who do not work and do not qualify to find work because they do not have a skill set that's great enough to sustain them in our country. In fact, bringing in low-skilled workers becomes a devastating impact to those who do not have the skill sets in America who are seeking jobs. Who are you going to pay? The one that gets paid the least, or the one who's going to require, because they are a citizen, minimum wage? You figure that one out for yourself. So literally, based on that, many people were running around and saying we should pass comprehensive, there's that word again, comprehensive immigration reform. The problem with comprehensive immigration reform is that the comprehension of it is the problem, not the comprehensiveness of it. You see, if you comprehended the fact that there are legal issues and economic issues and problems in our current immigration system without adding a pathway for undocumented or illegal aliens, then you would clearly state and understand that once we regiment and get that in order and get our judicial system in order, then by golly, and control those who actually come in, by golly, we will be just fine. But the truth of the matter is, okay, the truth of the matter is, they don't want to fix what's broken. They want to take advantage of what's broken. And when we come back, I'm going to show you through the history of the United States how immigration has been dangled forth as a tool for electoral politics, and that this issue has nothing to do with helping some poor 8-year-old from South America who wandered through the deserts of Mexico to get here. It has everything to do with making certain that that 8-year-old votes Democrat for the rest of his life. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Wilmington, North Carolina. We'll be back with more of the best right after these messages.
My name is Christopher Arnold. I'm an executive chef of a Infused restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we serve here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage. We cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is an in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and rich. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little
ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to get back to Washington, D.C. I think the first meal I'm going to have will be at Infused Restaurant, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. Telephone number 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000. Listen, infused.com, the best food imaginable in Washington, D.C. You can get it all right there. Ladies and gentlemen, this time of the year, as we're coming to the last time that I'll be doing this particular notice, but it should be, I'll probably do it a little bit during the course of next year, every once in a while, and then pick it up during the September period, is Stockings for Soldiers. Now, Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, which is a very good organization and is patroned by the benevolent dictator, Rick Trader, was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. Now, they accomplished that mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings are sent for a specific person with their name on the stocking. For many troops, that gift is all that they receive for the holidays. Now, they're trying to send a touch of home as well as personal messages of support to remind our troops that we appreciate all that they do for us and to let them know that they have not been forgotten over the holidays. Now, they depend, and let me make this very clear to you, Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, depends on the generosity of others to help accomplish the mission. As such, donations are tax deductible, but only to the extent of the law. So you need to check with your tax professional before you make your deduction. But by golly, if you know that you haven't even come close, you should just make a donation. You can write it off on taxes. Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, is a trustworthy 501c3 nonprofit organization. So if you would like to make a donation, please send your check to Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, 1911 Folk Road, F-O-U-L-K Road, 1911 Folk Road. That's Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. Now, they thank you for your assistance, and our soldiers thank you for your assistance as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this time of the year can be very tempting for people to believe whatever whoop-de-doo-dang thing comes out of people who are running for office. One of the first things that we should consider always is exactly the sincerity of our president, who compared the Syrian refugees to the British pilgrims that came to this country seeking to be able to practice their religion without persecution and to seek their own wealth in terms of ownership of land and property development accordingly, and farming and so on. Well, I think that is one of the most egregious misrepresentations of the founding fathers and the early patriots. And they're hoping that you will not have a problem with what they just said. They're counting on your miseducation to propel you to an emotional support of their belief that Syrian refugees need to come into our country without the proper vetting and surely without the demands of those 4 pathways to citizenship, that they learn English, that they disavow their obstructionist value system of Sharia law because it's not conforming to the Constitution, that they do remain in our country and not seek to go back amongst terror agents. And then lastly, what is the last one on that particular list? I thought I had them all down. good moral character, and that you're not going to go back and become a terrorist. So when you look at 98% of the people who are coming from Syria, these are men. The majority of them are 18 to 25. It doesn't sound like widows and children that will be our problem. It sounds like an invading force of individuals who are coming here, and that there is a president who is hoping that we will close our eyes and go with these particular lines from the Statue of Liberty. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, the Colossus is what they're referring to, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles, from her beacon hand, glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air bridge harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest lost to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Many people have taken those words and have absconded with the value of those particular words. In all of history, our founding fathers did not intend for our beloved value of immigration to be hoodwinked and bamboozled into invading forces to come into our country and to tear it all apart. Now, a lot of people will sit back and say, well, Ken, you sound like one of those people who hate. No, it's not hate. You see, our founding fathers understood that you can only tolerate when given a choice. When you no longer have the choice, you become intolerable. The choice of the matter is that a man, by his consent, chooses to be a citizen of the United States of America. That was what the original founding fathers believed, that it was your choice, and that you would make that choice by age 18, when you have become a man or a woman. After that particular time period, if you decide that you do not wish to be a part of America, well, you can go back from whence you came, or you can find another place. This is just not going to be the place for you. Well, what changed all that? You're probably wondering. Especially since we have the huddled masses yearning to be free invitation from the Statue of Liberty from 1886. Well, let's go to 1891 for a moment. And there's a lot of stuff before that, but let's just go to 1891 for a moment. Congress established the first federal administrative agency for the regulation of immigration. And this is from Kermit L. Hall, Dr. Kermit L. Hall, Immigration and the Oxford Comparison to the Supreme Court of the United States, 2005. In 1891, Congress established the first federal administrative agency for the regulation of immigration in the Treasury Department. Now, notice where they put it. Notice where they put it. Congress, and in 1891, the Senate was a Democrat-held Senate. The Senate was a Republican-held Senate, and the House was a Democrat-held House. 1891's coming right before an election. They placed this in the Treasury Department. Before this time period, you could, by your own choice, become, after the age of 18, a citizen of the United States of America. There was no birthright citizenship. Let me repeat this for all of you following along at home. And I think it's very, very essential to how we should see immigration from this day forth. With the Democrats gaining power, more and more people moving into the inner cities in urban America, They understood that they had to make a political choice for the value of its agenda, for the express content of installing Marxism, installing genocide through Planned Parenthood, for installing a destructive form necessary to bring down the U.S. Constitution and to eradicate capitalism. There had to be a process. They understood that that process could not be interrupted in the present state, because the people in America wanted to be in America. They were citizens. They wanted to be in America. They believed in a Republican form of government. Not the Republican Party, but a Republican form of government. They believed not necessarily a majority rule, but those who have been granted authority by God, the ability to vote on matters to uphold the Constitution, not tear it down. So in 1891, Congress decided, you know what? Not only can we use immigration to break up the educational system in America, to break up the economic system in America, but we can also break down the governing system in America. And we can use the Treasury Department as a tool, a device to keep people that we don't want out by raising fees and expenses for doing so, and reward those that we do want in. So this is what happens. Congress later refined and strengthened the control of immigration, which is their duty according to the U.S. Supreme Court. Statutes that restricted immigration according to increasingly stringent standards of admissibility, terminating the period of free and unlimited immigration by the early 20th century, were made possible by the Supreme Court's position that the exclusive constitutional power to regulate immigration resided in Congress. So you ask, how is it that the President of the United States has such powers by executive order? He hasn't been challenged. Let's go now to another important time in immigration history. We're not going to get to everything, and I can already see that. March 28th, 1898. What happens when you start bringing in millions of people? And you still have this old idea that, according to Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin, that immigration was a choice-operated, free choice operation of the individual. We open our doors, you can come, but you must always uphold the Constitution. You must be a good moral character. You must speak English. You must read English. You must be a part of America. You have to assemble in America, not dissemble in America. You can't go off on your own and start Dearbornistan. No. You got to be a part of the culture. But on March 28, 1898, the Supreme Court confirmed the 14th Amendment gives citizenship to all persons born in the United States. Well, you might be saying, well, Abraham Lincoln came up with that, didn't he? Well, Abraham Lincoln came up with the 14th Amendment because he had emancipated the slaves, which would have been unconstitutional as a power of the presidency by executive order. Couldn't do it. Constitution has to be done, legislation has to be done by the Congress, not by the willy-nilly pen and phone of either Abraham Lincoln or President Barack Hussein Obama. And this is what the Supreme Court said. To hold that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution excludes from citizenship the children born in the United States of citizens or subjects of other countries should be to deny citizenship to thousands of persons of English, Scotch, Irish, German, or other European parentage who have always been considered and treated as citizens of the United States. That wasn't true. You see, they were making this up because it began to fit the narrative that was necessary to change America. Yeah, people have been wanting to change America for a long time, baby. I conclude with these thoughts for the U.S. versus Wong Kim Ark. Whatever considerations in the absence of a controlling provision of the Constitution might influence the legislative or the executive branch of the government to decline, now, there you go. The Supreme Court gives power to the president that wasn't there. What? Or the executive branch of the government to decline to admit persons of the Chinese race to the status of citizens of the United States. There are none that can constrain or permit the judiciary to refuse to give full effect to the preemptory and explicit language of the 14th Amendment, which declares and ordains that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Woo-hoo. Now we have a problem. By a decision of the Supreme Court, we have moved from choice and governance by the consent to force and governance by the nobility. Here's our problem. America was never created for individuals from outside of this country, and even within it, to choose not to be citizens and remain here. The founding fathers understood that in order for we, the people, to have a true nation, a nation without fear of without or within, that we would have people who agree and wish to be a part of this nation as citizens and choose to, not forced to because of birth, which is our problem. Because for Ted Cruz or Barack Obama, by the standards of our original founding fathers, their birth wouldn't have made a difference. Their place of birth wouldn't have made a difference. That they chose to be Americans is all that mattered. The question is, do those that cross the border illegally do that because they want to be Americans, or do they do that because they want to bring the best, which is the worst, of their nation to this country and change America into something that they want to see with all the benefits paid for by taxpayers? You got to think about it, people. You got to think about it. When we come back, we will be talking with Dr. Michael Jones about whatever Dr. Michael Jones wants to talk about, because he's the underground professor and he has that kind of clout. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live this week from Wilmington, North Carolina. You already say Wilmington, New Mexico. Oh my gosh. Happy New Year, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to New Day Black and Red, New Jersey's, Delaware's, and most importantly, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's most important show on Saturday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Here we go. We're getting the Underground Professor. You know, he's a VIP, and sometimes you got to call him and everything. And so we're working on that even as we speak right now. We want to thank you all. We want to wish you all the happiest of New Year's in 2016. And am I talking with the Underground Professor? I hope that I am. New Day Black and Red is a program that we engineered together. And it is produced by none other than our benevolent and very good friend, Rick Trader, from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, which is heard all over the world, and especially on WNJC 1360 AM out of the wonderful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, PA. Okay, thank you very much. We're trying to get the Underground Professor even as I speak. Fortunately, I am not skilled in the realm of excellence as he is with Periscope and all these other things and calling people, and I don't know. I'm working on getting my own producer. You know what I'm saying? We are calling now the great one himself. Right. We are talking. Hello. We are talking tonight, or this afternoon, however way we wish to say it, on New Day Black and Red, WNJC 1360 AM's Top Flight show that gives a biblical and constitutional viewpoint on today's current events. None other than the great one himself, the most benevolent man and gracious Santa, the lovable and affable professor, the Underground Professor, Dr. Michael Jones. Good evening, sir. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Well, I know that's right.
It's absolutely right. Are your knees recovering, sir?
Let me tell you what, this has been a something couple of weeks. This last week has been terrible.
Wow.
But I'm recovering.
Wow. You as a Santa, you have to give joy and peace to so many around the world who don't mind sitting on your lap and telling you all their worldly, fleshly desires. You know, it takes a lot out of you. Am I right?
Yeah, actually is. You know, it's exhausting picking up kids, especially now that most kids are like 200 pounds at 5.
Well, I hear most children are going to begin joining Oprah Winfrey, and they're going to be going for a bigger picture of themselves. Well, at least a smaller picture of themselves. That's
scary because she's been reported to reputedly eat small children. So I don't know if that's a good idea.
Krampus as she is.
When she says she likes crackers with soup, she doesn't mean those little saltines.
Well, you know, sir, I want to thank you so much personally for being such a very good friend to me, and I also want to thank Rick Trader also for being a great friend. And both of you came to my daughter's funeral. You've been very supportive throughout. You've been a very good friend of mine in terms of broadcasting excellence. You were willing to pick up a sordid stranger off the streets, clean him up, and make him a world-renowned broadcaster. And I want to thank you, sir.
Well, it wasn't easy making you clean and articulate.
I be reading at least one book a month now.
I got to tell you something serious, Ken.
Yeah.
Now I was supposed to do a radio show. Sunday was my parents' 56th anniversary.
Wow.
And so we took them out, and I delayed the show. And then, they drive around the country in one of these very expensive motor coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And tow behind a Jeep, which they just bought, has like 40 miles on it. They just bought this brand new Jeep. And as they were leaving out of Fort Worth, they were about an hour out, close to Mineral Wells, heading west on I-30. And their front right tire blew. And they said it sounded like about 4 shotguns going on. And my father, struggling to keep it on the road, broke his wrist. And he's 74 or 5, something like that. And they left the road, and it was just the grace of God that the Jeep broke off, but the drag chain stayed on, so it acted like an anchor or a parachute, and it stopped them. And they came, their rig actually came against a pile of asphalt that had been dumped to the side when they were resurfacing. And then their motor coach sank, and so it didn't turn over. But the generator had come free and went underneath and shoved up my mother's chair and broke off the side. So the chair was actually up in the air and facing out to the left side of the vehicle. It was almost useless. If they'd have kept going and rolled, my mom probably would have died. But
wow.
She's come out pretty well. They can't find their eyeglasses or bones or any of those things. They're all gone, so they're now half blind. They're homeless because they lived in a motor coach, and that's totaled. The Jeep's totaled that they just bought. So they made some insurance agents' Christmas a very miserable outcome.
There you go.
Or New Year's anyway. But they're okay. But if anybody's wondering where I've been, that's it. We've been putting that back together.
Wow. Wow. I pray their strength, and I pray their great recovery in the Lord. They just sound like 2 great people, and you want in this particular stage of your life to really, you're not going to have a perfect trialless life at any point, but you want the trials not to be as egregious as your motor coach slapping into asphalt and everything being totaled. But thank God that they are safe and they're well.
Yeah. Well, the asphalt actually saved their lives, I think.
Yeah. See, but we should be thankful for the government workers that didn't finish the job. So
that's right. They dumped it off to the side. Who knew? Their laziness to save somebody's life. It's not funny, but there's a handle on the side of the rig for you to grab and help haul yourself up into it.
Yeah.
And as they had just topped the tanks off with diesel. They had the big, huge propane tank topped off, which was right behind their seats. The generator had broken free, and so they were thinking, we got to get out of here. And so my dad gets out of the truck, and he grabs that handle to swing himself down, and they get my mom. But the handle was no longer attached to anything. And so the most damage that was done to them, other than my dad breaking his wrist, holding onto the steering wheel, was, which he didn't know at the time, that was even broken because of the adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
But he grabs that handle and it's completely separated from the vehicle, and he fell into that pile of asphalt and put a knot in his head.
Wow.
But anyway, that's something that should have probably been a deadly accident. But the most amazing thing about it to me is the fact that people stopped. There was like 50 people that stopped. A nurse that was leaving work came in their scrubs, and the people were pulling over and running down to help them get out, make sure they're okay. And the cops were real nice and helped. And it was just an amazing story of people coming. In this day and age, you expect the people to blow their horn and flip them off as they were driving by because them being in the way or doing anything to inconvenience people.
Yeah, and also people are very frightened of helping. You can get sued. You can hurt somebody. You can hurt yourself, and most people don't want to get involved anymore. See something, say something. Are you kidding? No, I don't want to get involved.
Well, Texas has a law that we passed a while back that's called the Good Samaritan Law because doctors were getting sued by stopping to help car wrecks victims, and they would then turn around and the families would sue them. So doing it. And we had to pass a law to protect Good Samaritans, so their ships are down. So if you stop to render assistance in Texas, you cannot be sued.
Well,
As
thank
long
God.
as you're, not doing anything criminally negligent.
Exactly. Or not putting preludes in the water that you give people on the side of the road. You
Now, I have a question I need to ask you.
You gonna ask me something? You're
I
listening.
have to ask you a question.
You're listening to New Day Black and Red on WNJC 1360 AM and the wonderful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, PA, home of Temple University and the Bill Cosby Marathon, as well as Delaware and New Jersey. Thank you, sir.
Blind Man's Bluff.
Blind Man's Ladies and gentlemen, the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, the exceptional one, Kim McClinton. Go right ahead. Ask me anything.
Well, now I have two questions. One is, this isn't the question I need to ask you, but isn't it funny how Bill Cosby is so hated in America, but Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are so loved? I've asked you, what difference is there between them?
We have the choices of rapists. One rapist is a comedian, and I guess this is the curse of King Lear. Nobody likes the clown.
Yeah, not healthy to be in that job position.
But apparently, if you're a comedian who's told people that you don't curse on stage and that you don't believe in vile humor and that you believe in a father being in the home in Black America and people pulling their pants up, if you are a scoundrel, you need to be put behind bars. But apparently, if you oink off 4 or 5 women and use your power and authority to force them into resisting suing you, or I don't think he's ever been sued civilly for those things, but certainly not going with the criminal action against them. You can keep your honorary degrees. You can get paid billions of dollars for speaking. I mean, somehow, and this is what and I'll say this because I think I have the melanin requirement to do so. I don't know why Black people are so hateful towards one rapist and loves the other rapist more. The whole idea is that we actually caught this guy doing it in the Oval Office. Bill Cosby it's been allegations. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and there's a lot of allegations against Bill that, both Bills, and they're both named Bill too, so you can pick your own Bill.
Yeah.
But don't forget the sex island of the known child molester that Bill Clinton flew out to and spent a weekend with, and now the tabloids have that 17-year-old who was 16 at the time with Bill Clinton, confessing that she's had sex with him. But I think you can put this down as people know which side their welfare checks are buttered, and Bill Clinton is buttered.
That clown will never give you a welfare stamp. I tell you that.
That's right. Now, here's the question I have to ask.
You ask this
It is
one.
this.
Okay.
You live in Washington, D.C. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. You move on to the next round.
My apologies to you, but it's not my fault. Now, has Congress been in session every single day of this holiday season?
You know what? I believe that there's a contingency in the House that remains.
But for the most part, government's been shut down for the holidays.
Oh, yeah, the government. Oh, man, the government shut down weeks before.
Well, where are all these hot dog vendors at Yosemite Park and all these other welfare queens screaming that their generations of families are going to die on the vine because they can't be fed now with government shutdown?
Exactly. The government shuts down 52 weeks out of the year. Every weekend, the government shuts down. And we live. It's amazing. We're able to survive without government for 52 weekends out of the year. And lo and behold, if it ever has to shut down for a week, the whole world is going to come to an end.
Well, pretty much has been shut down for a week. From Christmas to New Year's, it's shut down.
Exactly.
Most of them go home.
This was the perfect storm. You got off on Thursday. Your Christmas is on Friday. You're going to take a few days off anyway. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is New Year's Eve, and Friday is New Year's Day. You got a 4-day holiday. My God, DC's been shut down for a whole 2 weeks. We didn't even need a snowstorm.
Yeah, that's right. So I expect all these protests and stores to get broke into and people stealing toilet paper and whatnot to occur.
Exactly.
But not going to happen, I guess.
Not going to happen. Not going to be, and I want to go back to the Hillary Clinton thing. She said up in New Hampshire that the voices of those who are affected by rape should be heard.
I'm sorry.
And when a little girl stood up and asked her, "Did you mean the ones that were impacted by your husband?" she grinned it off and said that everyone should have their day in court. Well, that goes back to another question for Hillary. When is her day in court?
Yeah. Well, I have to say this, that I was listening to the radio today when I went to Chuy's to go get some tacos for lunch, and I heard that Hillary was taking a new dump this weekend, but it turns out it was a document dump, so it was my bad.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's amazing how the portals don't shut down on the weekends. They're constantly shredding as much of Hillary's past in government as they possibly can every weekend, and it is an expensive thing to do, but nonetheless we're able to do it. We're talking tonight, this afternoon, forgive me, as we're listening to WNJC 1360 AM out of the brotherly love city known as Philadelphia, PA, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that is, and Delaware and New Jersey, all those great listeners, and as well around the world on Conservative Commandos Radio Network, SHR Media, Rebooting Liberty, and so many others. So we thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us give a biblical as well as a constitutional point of view on current events of the day. This week I have been talking on my program, since I did not take a week off from my program, unlike other catered to guests, hosts or whatever.
Haters are gonna hate.
Unfortunately, I had to labor this particular week, but not without disdain. I really enjoyed doing it. But we've been talking about immigration, and I wanted to talk with you real quick because a lot of people don't have the concept that immigration is virtually the Democrats' panacea, in which they have used the Treasury Department since 1896. I believe it was 1896, 1891. I'm sorry, 1891, and have used the Supreme Court since 1898 to force Americans to accept immigration by their standards. It wasn't an original concept that you were born an American. It was something that you chose, and it goes back to the concepts of John Locke and others of that particular day, who stated that it was the desire of the individual to choose his government rather than for him to be born as a nobleman or a peon in a system of monarchy in which you are the property of the state. And so I want to ask you, sir, have we lost the philosophy that grounded us on immigration, and can it be retrieved?
Oh, good God, yes. And yes, it can be. I don't think we're lost yet, but I don't see on the horizon enough people caring and fighting this fight to save our country. But I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. But it can be saved, and we could do it in just a couple of election cycles, enough to where we stop the erosion, and then we slowly fix it. And mind you, that it's been 150 years of erosion, since the Civil War.
Yeah.
Sadly, since Lincoln, perhaps one of the greatest presidents of history, certainly in the top five, but still,
Mm-hmm.
He was a danger to the Constitution, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
But immigration was just fine in this country until the 60s and Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Kennedy was allowed to rewrite it, and they changed our immigration from and here, I guess you could word it in one way. Most of our immigration was Western civilization coming into America.
Yeah.
And then we, for most of the country, and then on the west coast of our country, most of the immigration was from the Asias. Right? We had an Asia influx, especially when we were building railroads and whatnot.
Yeah.
But most of it was white, Eurocentric people. The people that came and wrested this from my people, the Indians, and your people, because you're a Black Crow, right?
Yeah. From Sheboygan.
But they came, but the Europeans came and they brought their society, their ideas to this country, and they were superior to that of our Indian forefathers who did not band together and fight. We could talk about that on some other show if you want. I'd be happy to.
Mm-hmm.
But needless to say, and this history is that America was born from white Eurocentric minds.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it was built across the backs of a lot of blacks that were here involuntarily.
Yeah,
you can't dismiss that.
Can I interject? Can I interject here just one moment?
If that's a 3-syllable word, you can.
Oh, wait, thank you.
It doesn't sound like it, but it's.
The first illegal aliens in our country were black slaves.
No, that's not true.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, tell me the truth. Then, what is the truth?
I'll explain you the truth.
Explain me the truth.
Okay. The first human beings in America were probably Nordic. They were Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Indians, they all came later, and the land bridge, there's a lot of speculation that the early Americans came from the steppes of China, that they were from them. And then you had, the Indians come from that. But the first human beings out here were Vikings. Mm-hmm. And because the oldest skull that we have found was in America, the oldest skull is the skull of a white dude. Mm-hmm. And so, Caucasian. Mm-hmm. So, as far as we know then, by being able to date these things, the first person in America in the Americas, was a white guy. Mm-hmm. So anybody else is, or the invaders, the Johnny-come-latelys, the illegals, even Indians.
Yeah.
So,
mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
But there were a lot of
I get
there were
your
a lot
point.
of illegal aliens, and of course down in New Mexico we have a lot of illegal aliens too, but they usually come in their own ships.
I get your point, sir. Well stated.
And that's only off of 2 rum and cokes.
But I'm referring to the slave trade that was supposed to end in 1808 under the auspices of the U.S. Constitution, Article 1 and Section 9, and then that they were 50,000 additional slaves were smuggled in after 1808. They became the first real illegal immigrants under the U.S. Constitution, per se.
Well, Obama's not the first president to ignore the Constitution. The Northwest Ordinance and the Constitution itself were written to have slavery die on the vine and go away all on its own.
Yeah.
But it was ignored and it was compromised and it extended, and then that's what guaranteed the Civil War that occurred. And but you can't really call slaves illegal aliens because under the rules they were legal. Slavery was legal, and until after Civil War. So any slaves that were brought into the country post Civil War could be considered illegal aliens, but all of these slaves brought before that are actually probably how would you word them? We wouldn't call them undocumented because they had documents. They were sold into slavery. We had careful documents of all that. So they would be actually documented.
Illegal document.
Workers. Yeah, kind of like what they just did, where
Yeah.
Microsoft and all those liberals or progressives rather are to hire people from India and
Yeah.
whatnot instead of American. Yeah.
Illegal
So that's what this was.
documented laborers.
Yeah, it was just a visa.
Mhm.
Slavery. But they were legal, so
No, not in the
no matter
case.
how heinous that law.
Not in the case.
you know, they-
Not in the case of black slaves. It was not Visa. It was Mastercard. Thank you very much.
MasterCard. Yes, exactly. I like that. Yeah. Now they play the race card. In the 1800s, they played the MasterCard.
Happy New Year, everybody. That one you can use for free at work.
Tip your waiters. Now, I got to ask you a question.
Yes.
Did Santa treat you right this year?
Oh, yes. He gave me a beautiful woman to love.
I know that's right.
You know, and she has allowed me to take her away to Wilmington, North Carolina.
So
And
you take women to all the best places.
yes, I do. And actually, I
Forget
would.
Paris or Tahiti. Let's go to North Carolina.
Want to get back to my roots.
Well, the reason I ask is I've got a funny story to tell you about being Santa. Now, I don't want to take it away from what we want to talk about tonight, but I got to tell you this.
No,
Because
go.
it was the coolest thing.
Okay, go ahead. Let's hear this story, and then we'll get back to immigration that needs to be reformed, so that illegal.
Oh, no, it's fine the way it is.
Oh, it is. Okay, well, never mind. Let's go on. Let's hear your
Yep,
story.
next. We solve that. I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to do, Ken. It's bringing in voters for the Democrat Party. So why would you want to fix that?
I would. No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Go right ahead, sir.
It has nothing to do with what the country needs. It has nothing to do with being, a beacon of freedom around the world. It's simply, will you come in and do the right thing, and that's get on welfare and vote Democrat. I mean, look at the Muslim immigration, which is most of our immigration today
Yes.
under Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of it is no longer white people, it's Muslims.
Yeah.
And although some Muslims are white, so it's not a racist thing, it's
Yeah.
a religious thing. But I just saw a recent survey that said that 93% of all Muslim immigrants, whether they're refugees or not, all the immigrants that are Islamic, 93% end up on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
So that is exactly what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to come over here, use welfare as the jizra, and then vote Democrat.
Yeah.
And so that's, and then we have the other end where we have the Hispanic waves coming through the southern borders, and they do the same thing. About 75% are on welfare, and they vote Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
So, it tends to be only those who actually immigrate that become Republicans. And, they have to go through the process and take the loyalty oath and study all the presidents and all that nonsense. Then they are more likely to be a Republican than a Democrat, but all the rest are more likely to be Democrats. So there's nothing wrong with our immigration policy. It's exactly what Congress has set up.
Mm-hmm.
Under the some 60 years of Democrat rule, and it feeds into the narcissistic needs of the rhinocrats in the Republican Party, who are statists also, who want the cheap labor, and they don't care what party the laborer votes for or what damage it does to the country long term, because it fulfills,
Yeah, but if you look at the pathway to citizenship, because there are lots of people on the left and on the right that say that there is no pathway for citizenship. There is. There's just not a pathway for citizenship for illegal aliens.
Right.
And that's...
Well, I ask you, Ken, wouldn't you rather go across the border and come over as an illegal alien? Because there's a lot more benefits.
Oh,
right
my God, there's
you
so
or I
many
have.
more benefits. You can go to the University of Maryland, one of the top colleges in the country, for free.
Free medical. I mean, this is better than being a vet.
Yes, it is.
I only risk my life for this country, and these guys, they've broken all the laws, but they get treated better than I do.
Now, there's a question from our chat roll at SHR Media Live on the Exceptional Conservative
Ask
Server.
us anything.
That is a question. And Mary, my bouncer, Mary, okay?
She's probably mad at me, isn't she?
No, she's not mad at you. She's not mad at you, but tonight she's my bouncer. She's my bouncer. Not she doesn't have anything.
Whatever. No. Go ahead and tell the Czarina. Ask us anything.
She says, what about Alex?
What about Alice?
Alex.
She took the red pill.
No, she Alex, Alex.
My daughter?
Yes, I believe it's Alex that she's referring to.
Okay, if that's the Alex she's referring to. Well, yeah, her car was totaled from her car wreck. The guy pulled out in front of her, and she plowed into the back of him. But there were eyewitnesses, so she's okay, and her car's totaled. And she sent me a picture today. She has a brand new red Porsche. So I don't know how she upgraded from a Mustang to a Porsche, but she has. So she's coming out pretty good on all this.
Yeah.
She's okay, yeah. Well, come to think of it, we've had a lot of weird wrecks. My uncle just had neck surgery from a wreck.
Wow.
So our family's been in and out of the hospitals quite a lot lately.
You know, wouldn't it
be
cheaper if the insurance companies just paid you all not to drive for a week or two? Wouldn't it?
Everybody's insurance rates would sure drop. Think about it. You know, that motor coach is like $250,000 and a brand new, $40,000-$50,000 Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. Golly.
Yeah, that is. And Mary once again wants to inquire, not imply but inquire. How is her hearing?
Huh?
How is her hearing? How's your hearing?
No, she still can't hear out of one ear.
Okay.
She can hear out of one, but she can't hear out of the other. And I have not gotten an update beyond that. She talked about that Christmas Eve and explained that she still couldn't hear, but it was like 50 family members, and it was hard to get to find out what was going on exactly. But as far as I know, she still can't hear out of one ear, and
awesome.
And that's put her hold of going into the Marine Corps on hold because you can't hear out of one ear; they're not going to take you. So,
but it would make you a perfect immigrant, according to the President of the United States. Listen, Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the the Armed Forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. They accomplished that mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings that are sent are for a specific person with their name on the stocking exactly. Now, for many troops, that gift is all that they receive for the holidays. So they're trying to send a touch of home as well as personal messages of support to remind our troops that we appreciate all they do for us and to let them know that they have not been forgotten during the holidays. Now, we depend on the generosity of others to help accomplish that vital mission. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. That means if you give the money, you may be able to write it off on your taxes. As such, donations are deductible to the extent allowed by law, so please consult your tax professional for more information. If you would like to make a donation to our community project, please send your check to Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, 1911 Folk Road, that's F-O-U-L-K Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. They thank you, and our soldiers thank you. And if you did not get all of that information, all you need to do is download from Conservative Commandos Radio Network or SHR Media or from Rebooting Liberty, or you can come back to the Exceptional Conservative Show on Ustream. You can download this show and play it back one more time so you can write down Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated's address. Or you can simply just, look it up on Google, but who wants to go to all that trouble? Thank you so much for listening to New Day Black and Red. I'm your host, the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, and the hostess with the mostest, or the host with the most. The host with the most, is Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. Glad to have you with us this afternoon, sir.
Are you high?
I am drinking a clear liquid, sir, so thank you very much.
Yeah, Daspadanya, Vodich, Vodka.
Mm.
New Year's Eve. No one's judging you on New Year's Eve.
Listen.
So, Christmas Eve,
Yep.
I had a family event, and then I had to get up super early. And the post office asked me if I could help them out for Christmas, so I did. And I got in my Santa suit, and I showed up, and the NBC5 local news had a camera team there. And they followed me for a couple of hours, and then I brought them back, and the CBS news crew, again local, was waiting for me. And I took them out for a couple hours to watch me deliver express mail to people on Christmas Day for the post office in my Santa gear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want to Google all that for the Fort Worth, Dallas-Fort Worth NBC and CBS affiliates for Santa delivery on Christmas, then you'll be able to find the news feeds for that and watch it. The 2 hours with each news station, and I think the long segment was 1:29.
Wow! They do so much to get so little.
It was incredible.
Yeah, but I am very thankful for the work that you've done, not only with the kids, but also from your work with the Postal Service and making certain that stuff got to where it needed to be on time. And it wasn't dropped off in the middle of the street or kicked up onto the steps of someone's house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got most of it right.
But Miss Agnes, the 73-year-old lady who received that special Christmas gift from the adult toy factory, they are quite quite concerned that maybe you missed the
her major complaint was the batteries weren't included.
Oh man! But speaking.
So I could tell you some stories, Ken.
I think you could. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we are really enjoying the fact that we have reached nearly the end of the year. We are just moments away from that happening, and we're very excited about that. But I want to bring to your attention, Professor, a story that came out in the Washington Post today, and they put it out very late so that only geeks would actually read it and get it. And it's regarding the recent election of Matt Bevin to the governorship in Kentucky. And literally, this is their warning to Democrats for 2016. And I think it should be a just warning for rhinos as well. But they say the Democrats are now in real danger of becoming extinct in the South. That virtually there are very few southern states that have a Democrat lead, if any. After Kentucky wins on vacancies in the coming spring for special elections.
Oh yeah.
There were virtually.
Well, you see what they're saying, Ken. Like what they're doing in Virginia with the reciprocated gun laws for concealed carry laws.
Yeah.
And they're making Southerners mad because they're pushing crap that the Southerners aren't wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one other place to turn, and that's the Republican Party. And even the rhinos are starting to be afraid because, they should have had their candidate locked in by now.
Yes.
And yet they're dropping out, and it's Cruz and Trump, for God's sakes. Now, the rest of them are dropping out. Sadly, Ben Carson's having some problems. He's reshook his cabinet up, too. His staff fired some people and is hiring new ones. So I don't know what that portends, if that's good or bad. But the South, we have those values still, biblical values, patriotic values, and the Democrat Party just has no home for that anymore. Exactly. They're anti-God, pro-Islam, pro-terrorist, and pro, taking all your money. And when you don't have any left to give, you tend to look for other answers.
Exactly. And I just want to give this quote. This is from a gentleman who is a leader of a Southern Republican party. He says, "We used to be more of an outlier. Now we're more normal." And he was referring to those who are post-Civil War Republicans. And he says he thinks that all this should be a wake-up call for the Democrat Party, which has struggled to bridge the urban-rural divide in heavily rural states like Kentucky, and hasn't really found a way to reach across the cultural divides that separate former Southern Democrats with today's Northern ones. And that brings me to the statement that he makes here as well, and you've made it, that the answer is not much. On God, guns, and gays, poor, white evangelical conservatives would say the Democrat Party walked away from them and not the other way around. So what has the Democrat Party done for poor, conservative, evangelical white people? Nothing.
Yeah. The only reason the Democrat Party has a toehold is that they have, well, you and I talked about this a million times, that they have a lock on the black vote in America. Even though skin color doesn't matter, black people vote in mass, 95%, roughly 93 to 97% Democrat. And because of that, the Democrats remain viable in the South because that's where the largest congregation of black people are.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for that, if the black people would wake up and realize that they're actually probably worse off now than they were under slavery, under the Democrats, which is both, what they are under today and what they were under in slavery are both under the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
If they understood that the last 60 years, none of them have improved their lives because of welfare or because of social programs or because of equal opportunity or affirmative action, that, they've been wasting their votes, then the Democrat Party would dissolve. It would become something textbooks refer to and nothing to be serious about. But when you still can vote for a party, 95 percentile range of people voting for a party that is a pro-Islamic terrorist party and anti-America, anti-constitutional, anti-freedom, anti-liberty, then, what does that say about you?
Yeah.
When you do that.
Exactly. You are what you vote for. I know a lot of people don't want to say it and believe it, but if you put on a New York Yankees uniform and you go to bat and you hit one over the park, out of the park, that score doesn't go up for the Baltimore Orioles because you like them. That's a New York Yankees score, baby. And so you are exactly what you vote for. And even if you believe that gun control doesn't work and that you don't believe in Planned Parenthood or that the government should pay for poor women to get abortions, and you vote for it, then you believe it. You are what you vote for.
Exactly.
Now,
and you're causing your own problems. The old saying, what was it that inventor, the guy, Einstein maybe it was, that said that the definition of insanity is repeating an action over and over and expecting a different result?
Exactly. And that's why I want to bring up this point with you, that jives back down to immigration and elections.
Yes, sir.
In New York City, pre-Ellis Island, it was the New York machine that first realized that you could get immigrants to come into your country and vote a certain way if you did things for them out of your treasury.
Let's be clear, that's the New York Republican machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right, because we're the ones who invented this game. They just perfected it.
And many people cry foul over the fact that a lot of Irish and a lot of Scots were brought into New York, and they became an economic travesty early on, although later on they they help expand the country economically because of the skill sets that they possess. But at that time period, they were just useful tools for the electoral power bosses to stay in power. Now, if we rev up, uh, every time you see that there's a conversation about immigration, there's the conversation that it's broken, and only if you vote for me can we fix it. And on top of that, what we will do is we will give you more money. One of the proposals by Marco Rubio, who is running for the presidency of the United States, and Jeff Flake, and John McCain, and Lindsey Graham, 3 out of the 4 of that group ran for president or are running for president, made this almost confounding statement. I will go with confounding. I'll go with that one. That if we would allow illegal aliens into our country undocumented and allow them to work, they would actually bring in $278 billion to the Social Security rolls, and they will only cost the country $33 billion.
That's just ignorant. That's just ignorant. I mean, look how much is going out of this country right now into the South American countries, income-wise. I mean, it's $1 trillion a year. So our economy is being hurt by immigrants coming in that are working in our country, especially illegal. Now, what does that mean? Yeah, he's right that Social Security would get more money because we would take it forcibly from the legal checks. If we allowed these guys to come in legally and let them work on work visas and stuff, we would be able to dock the Social Security. But what he's not taking into account, and what they will not put into their factors, because the Congressional Budget Office has not been told to do so, is to show the impact of paying out in Social Security benefits all these people.
Yeah.
And so Social Security would not only go bankrupt sooner, but it would be devastating to our country, and most of that money would leave and be expatriated from our economy. So, and plus there would be a strain on medical resources, a strain on education resources. All of these communities would have to build schools, we'd have to build more roads, we'd have to fix roads more often. We'd have more congestion. There is no good side to this, period.
Well, this is what they...
Which is why I say we need a 1-year moratorium on any immigration. We don't need people in this country.
Yeah.
Let's face it, this country doesn't need anybody from anywhere else. What we need is, what we are, is a hope, spring eternal for the world. And so people want to come here. They need us more than we need them. And all we need to do is set up an immigration policy that says, if you've got a college degree, you can come in. Otherwise, see ya. We got enough maids and janitors and gardeners and $15 an hour fast food workers. So what we need are some people with an education that can actually earn enough money to pay taxes.
Well, most of those people that are doing that stuff right there, the fast food and everything else, are college workers, because the economy isn't so great. But that brings to mind this particular point about immigration. It impacts people here dramatically, and it's impacting those same people that tell you that you should vote for someone who believes in amnesty. That if you would just give illegal, undocumented workers, or laborers, or aliens, or people who are not supposed to be in this country according to the current law, if you would just give them a break, then all of our economy would be better. And the bottom line is that mathematically, that's not being proven on any given day in Washington, D.C., which puts the emphasis on states like Texas to cover those schools and everything else. How's that working out for you in Texas?
You're right. It's breaking us. And this is the simple fact. It's that progressivism has never worked anywhere it's ever been tried. It's a Ponzi scheme, and because of that, it's going to fail.
Exactly.
You can show positives, Ken, if you look at it myopically. If you look at one little set of data and you do not consider other extraneous events, then you can look at it in a vacuum and say, okay, like, for instance, to claim that Social Security will get more money. Well, of course, because they'll pull Social Security money out of people's checks that they know exist. And their claim is that if we have them here legally, then they won't be getting money under the table paid in cash that we can't tax. But then again, it doesn't take any other consideration in, like the impact of services provided or infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And our country can't sustain that. Not when half of everybody in this country is getting money from the government.
Yes.
I think about that. Half of this country gets money from the government. Half of this country pays $0 in taxes, at least income taxes. And we can't sustain that. 49% of this country cannot pay for everybody else to exist and to live. It just is idiotic to think that. Now, that's a statement of how great America is that we've been able to do that. But the only way we've actually been able to do that is that we've been able to borrow, trillions of dollars a year to do it. So we're not actually doing it because we can afford it. We're doing it because we can borrow the money and force future generations to pay for it.
Now, a lot of people get offended with conservative.
That's my fault.
Yeah, I blame you, and then they blame me. But they get offended because we're not talking about opening the doors, the gate door to prosperity. We're not talking about give us your poor, your hungry, your burdened masses. We're not talking about that. We're talking about simple mathematics, that if you have more people on disability and unemployment or out of the workforce, then that means that you have a lot more people that you can actually use in an economy rather than bringing people in that will only diffuse the poverty that we have.
Yeah, well, that doesn't work. Ken, I did one of my earliest shows. I did the first year, I think in the first few months, I did a show on that plaque on the Statue of Liberty that you just quoted.
Yes.
And my thought was this, is that most of us think we know what it says and what that poem means that little girl wrote. That, it was a contest and the little girl wrote it, and then it became the plaque on the Statue of Liberty. It does not mean for the world to send us their crap people.
Thank you.
What it means is that the world did send us their crap people, and they got over here and they became Americans. And when they became an American, then they have the opportunity to thrive, to live as free men, and to become bountiful in their lifestyles. That's what that means. Now, people don't come over here to become Americans anymore. They come over here and they try to force their lifestyle from where they fled onto us. And they don't become Americans. They don't live as free men, and they don't thrive. But I did a long show about what that all means and why it's wrong today. What we're trying to force down people's throats with this immigration policy. And it's exactly that. We need to actually probably do a show on that one thing one day on that point.
I think we should. I think we should indeed, because one of the things I've been talking about all week is that there is a pathway to citizenship in America. That pathway was set up by our founding fathers, built on education. And the education was that you were to assemble in English throughout the land. That the first thing is that you speak English, you read English, you write in English. And that the government was not supposed to become the United Nations in your particular city or state or whatever, or it's certainly not the federal level with a multitude or diverse culture of languages. It was supposed to be e pluribus unum, English only. So English should be the official language of our country. Secondly, we were crafted by our founding fathers to make certain that you disavowed every allegiance to any other royalty, nobility, country, whatever. You were supposed to give it all up and swear your allegiance to the United States of America, lest you can leave. Then you had to also be of attachment to the U.S. Constitution, which means that you're probably going to be a Republican if you come through and study civics and history. and understand the purposes of government and limited government exactly. And then lastly, good moral character. And part of the law regarding good moral character is that you're not supposed to even participate in public drunkenness. So you're supposed to be as godly a person as you possibly can be. And so what they want to do is take away all of that which the founding fathers wanted, and then corrupt it by allowing any old person that they want to come in to change our system around to the way they want it.
Right. Yeah, and I ask you, what moral character is somebody who will break into another country violating its immigration laws, steal people's identities so that you can work? That's not noble. I don't care if you're trying to feed a family. That's not noble. I tell you what, turn your little ass around, go back to your country, and fight for the freedoms you want to take from us.
There you go.
Fight for them in your country.
There you go.
And, you know, the reason your country has problems is too many of you come over to America illegally instead of staying there and fighting for it.
Exactly.
Then you can have the culture you want.
There you go. Listen, you do not bring Sharia law here because it is not constitutionally compliant. Period. And if you believe it.
Now, I understand there's a new thing now. Chicago is under Shaniqua law instead of Sharia law.
Yes, it is. It can pout, it can roll its eyes, but it can't shoot back. It's under Shaniqua law. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to New Day Black and Red, a program that gives you a biblical as well as constitutional point of view on the issues of the day. I'm sorry I didn't give you a biblical point of view. Well, let me just put it this way.
God is great. There you go.
God is great. And also God told the Israelites, get rid of all of those people that are in that land, lest they become the thorn in your side. They didn't do it. And guess what happened? The Philistines, all of them became a thorn in their side. And still to this day, they're throwing rocks into Israel. So just saying, if you don't want any of the problems of the world, make certain that you have godly people coming into your country that believe in the Constitution and the good moral conduct that requires them to speak English, and that you don't have to ask for a manager to give you a interpreter while you're ordering your food. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, sir.
If they would just say that they supported the rule of law, I'd be happy.
Oh, God, that would be a miracle. We want to thank you so much. We want to thank the benevolent dictator, Rick Trader. God bless you and your family and all the others who are listening on Conservative Commandos Radio Network, to WNJC 1360 AM, to New Day Black and Red. To you, my great friend, Dr. Jones, God bless you, love you. And to everyone else who's tuned in to New Day Black and Red, we'll see you next week for more of the best in radio talk.
Años prosperos felicidad.
Yeah. Speak English! Good night.
No speaking English. Have a happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year.
And peaches.
Will do. Happy New Year to all. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show. At midnight tonight, we celebrate the new year. May it be prosperous. May it be bountiful. May it be holy and acceptable unto God and to you. Remember each and every one of us. And remember, a man once told me, do not live cowardly, but die bravely. I promise you I always will. Remember, going into this new year, God has blessed America. It's time for us to bless God. We will see you in the new year. I swear we will, with no interruption and great programming. It will be the best programming you have ever had. So from all of us, Mrs. Biggs, Mary, my bouncer, and everyone else, we thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And we look forward to you coming back in the new year. God bless you, and thank you so very, very much. Take us away, Professor, or actually whoever will be pointing and playing this song.